Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is John S. Ray and Ruth S. Ray's 50th wedding anniversary in 2000 video. My parents, John and Ruth Ray, were married on August 19th, 1950 at St. Peter's Anglican Church in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And they had their 50th wedding anniversary, mostly at the Cleveland Yachting Club in Rocky River, Ohio, on August 19th, 2000. And then also back at home. This video was made by a family friend, Terry Elliott. Terry and his mother, Carrie Elliott, are friends of the family. The beginning of the video, there are flowers, a farm, plowing, cows, hay, and houses. And then the wedding anniversary at the CYC, Cleveland Yachting Club. And, of course, John and Ruth Ray were there, my brother Mark Ray and his wife Terry, my sister Patricia. I was there, Peter J. Ray. And Harold Freilich, another relative, was there. Jim and Katie Zook as well, some relatives. Mostly my parents' friends, Joe and Eve Kirkle, Bill and Bobby Rudge, Don McQuilkin, let's see here, Hans and Dinah Lesheim, Dr. Denko, Doug Kirkle, John and Ann Whites, Shar Robertson. There was music played. John and Ruth were dancing. Also, Tim and Molly Simon were friends of my parents, were there. Bev Schneider, of course, Carrie Elliott, Marilyn Phyllis. Patricia wore, for a time, Ruth's wedding dress, and she made a speech. And then Peter made a speech, yours truly, and Mark made a speech. And John Ray made a toast. Terry sang New York, New York. Mark and Patricia danced. There were flowers. Then they came home. The party continued at 21508 Avalon Drive in Rocky River in the backyard, the after party with Lake Erie in the backyard. And this video shows the beach house, the break wall, the stairs, wooden and stone stairs inside the house, other friends, Dorothy and Alan Myers, Joe Mohar, Bob Eggenberger, George Gregory, and a cat. And now the movie, folks.
creativity in children. A lot of them are miserable in school, but nobody seems to care about that. It's like, well, there's all this work that has to be done. Nobody says, well, are the children happy or not? And I think it's a very simple reason, because there's no market for products, because wages are so low.
Special presentation by Rea. She's going to come up, and she's actually wearing Ruth Rea's wedding dress. And the dress has been altered a little bit. Ruthie took off the yoke, some sleeves in her train because she wanted to use the dress over at other parties. Graduation. This is the gown that put into motion 50 years of blissful marriage. My mother asked me to wear this the whole day, but this is as much as I could do was just to model it. She wore it to her graduation like this, after making the changes we just heard about. And luckily I can even fit into it. But I just wanted to first say a few words to give you a context of what we're celebrating today, which incorporates some things I've heard from my parents for my entire life about this special time. We'll start with the year 1948, October, the year Cleveland became known as the City of Champions, according to Peter, our historian. Two great events were about to take place in Cleveland. The second was the Cleveland Indians winning the World Series against the Boston Braves. But the first was John Rea, second-year law student, meeting the lovely Ruth Smallshaw, who was arriving in Cleveland for her fellowship at the Hearing and Speech Center. John at that time was president of the Gene Meyer Co-op for graduate students in Cleveland Heights. And John, as was his tradition, sat out on the stoop of the co-op to check out the new arriving girl. John described Ruth as stepping out of the cab with high heels, a black suit, and of course, her signature lovely red hair. As we all know, ever since then, John has called red for her beautiful red hair. At the end of their first date, Ruth, who was very short on money, in her resourceful way, kept my father up until 5 a.m. in the morning, telling him stories of her tales of teaching Indians in Saskatoon, teaching deaf children in St. Augustine, Florida. She kept John up all night just so that she could get a ride to the bus to take back to Edmonton, Alberta for a friend's wedding. She describes John's eyes as growing wider and wider as she told her tales. I think John had never met a woman like this before. In fact, nobody has. My mother is truly unbelievable. Ruth apparently was never sure about getting married. She always thought she was a career girl and took 6 months to give John a final answer after his proposal. She finally agreed in May of 1950. As far as getting married, she was so skittish that John always said that, quote, if it had rained, Ruth wouldn't have gotten married. Luckily, it didn't rain. But rumor has it that Ruth was in the bathtub half an hour before the wedding ceremony. John told her she could be late for the rest of her life, but she had to be on time for their wedding. John even glanced at his watch as she walked down the aisle. The memorable moment of the Anglican service in St. Peter's Church, Regina, Saskatchewan, was when the Anglican priest wrapped his stole in a knot around the couple's arms and thundered, "The familiar, let no man put asunder what God hath joined together." John figured the priest was making sure this American was taking seriously his vows and not just stealing this pretty Canadian redhead. The rest is history as we celebrate today, and Peter will continue the story.
Is that what you were married in, John?
Oh, very good, Patty. That was great. 50 years is a long time, and John and Ruth, our parents, have had quite a life together. And of course, it's a story of 50 years of a man and a woman. But the story goes back before then. It's a longer story than just 50 years because they had their own stories before they met. And briefly, I thought, since I'm a historian, I think it's important to be complete. So we'll go back to the beginning. 1924, they were both born that year. John in Marion, Ohio, and Ruth in the small town of Estevan, Saskatchewan, Canada. Ruth's parents were both born in England, and they had moved to Canada as small children. John's ancestry was German, Scottish, and Swiss. So they were both born that year of 1924, the year Calvin Coolidge was elected president. And also in 1924, the Cleveland Bulldogs won the NFL championship. More than 20 years before the Browns were born. Now, John went to school in Marion and grew up in Marion with a very big family, and they both graduated from high school in 1942 during the early part of the Second World War. John at Marion Harding High School in Marion, and Ruth's family had moved to Regina when she was 2, and she graduated from high school from Scott Collegiate in Regina. Okay. And then after graduation, John went to Oberlin College, where he studied chemistry and got a chemistry degree in 1946. And that's where he met some of his great buddies, Wayne Duff and Bruce Partridge. Now, Ruth, on the other hand, started school in the fall of 1946, studying to become a teacher at Regina Normal College in Regina. But with the war on, there were a lot of there was a demand for teachers. She started working as a teacher in March 1943 in Saskatoon, and she stayed for the next 3 years teaching at the Saskatchewan School for the Deaf while also studying at the University of Saskatchewan. The year that John graduated, 46, he moved from Oberlin to Cleveland, where he started working as a chemist at the DeBeckman Company in Cleveland. And Ruth, that same year, moved to St. Augustine, Florida, where she continued to teach school for the next 2 years. Of course, John started law school in 1947 in Cleveland Marshall, and Ruth came to Cleveland in September of 1948. And that's when they met in the fall, where they both were living at the G. Meyer Co-op. Now, what I've done is both John and Ruth wrote to their parents during the time when they were getting to know each other, and then in Ruth's case, after they were married. And I took some, I went through these old letters that were saved by Ruth's mother and by John's mother, and I took some excerpts from these letters that describe their relationship. I thought we'd share that with you. So that's what I have right now. The first excerpts are from letters that John wrote to his parents, Doran and Gertrude Ray of Sandusky, Ohio. Okay, the letters start in 1949. These are excerpts. February 17th. Saturday afternoon, Duffer, Annie, Red, and I are going to Marion for a dance. Harold and Marge invited us down some time ago. Yeah, these are letters from John to his parents. March 3rd, Red and I went down to the hearing clinic Sunday night. August 25th, Red is going to be able to make both Mark's wedding and Lakeside. And I think that's Jim Zook, Jim and Katie's wedding. Right, they're here. Yeah. September 16th, let me say again how much both Red and I enjoyed the Lakeside interlude. So Red went to Lakeside for the first time in 1949. We're going next Saturday again for the 110th year in a row. As a family, of course, none of us have gone for 110 years. I've only been going for 40. Okay, October 20th, Red is living in a beautiful three-girl apartment just a few minutes from the co-op. And she moved out of the co-op, apparently. November 16th, Red and I will be able to make it home for Thanksgiving. Okay, now 1950. January 4th, Red and I had a most enjoyable New Year's holiday in Hamilton and Toronto. Red had lost her border crossing card, but with some luck, she was able to get back in the States okay. Canadian citizen. January 11th, I'm taking Red in Saturday to see Ted about her back. Ted was the uncle. Ted Zook. January 29th. Last night, Red and I went to the Cleveland College prom at the Lake Shore Hotel. Very fine fandango. February 5th. Tonight, Red and I are going down to the music hall to hear a program by Oscar Levant. March 30th. Red and I are thinking of going to Cincinnati for the weekend to visit friends. April 9th. Duffer, Ann, Red, and I had a huge Easter dinner at the Smorgasbord over at Stowe, Ohio. I might say that it was a real adventure in good eating. Red placed in the upper 1/4 in her teacher's exam. April 18th. Last Saturday evening, Red and I went to the R-Hop at Adelbert Gym. It was a real fandango, and we had a good time. Red and I have been studying together lately, and she pulled down an A on her last exam. Red and I missed the opera this year for the simple reason that I didn't realize it was coming. May 31st. Red is still in the midst of an orgy of term papers, reports, and final exams. June 6th. Red and I are planning to be married in her hometown sometime during the first 3 weeks in August. She'll be operated excuse me. She'll be operated on in 2 weeks, and the doctor says her face should be in fair shape. For the wedding. They've been involved in a very terrible car accident shortly before that. Very bad car accident. Red has beat herself into an almost insensible state of physical exhaustion, getting her papers and finals finished. Incidentally, she got an A on those damn book reports we did. June 13th. We have picked out the engagement ring, and I think it's a beauty. We should have it Thursday. Red picked a setting with a 32-point stone in it, but I'm getting her a 75-point stone in the same style setting. I believe she'll be very pleasantly surprised Thursday. I'm selling my stock this week. June 26th. Friday evening, we went to the ball yard and saw Luke Easter's 470-foot blast. That was the longest home run ever hit at the stadium. July 12th. Dear folks, Red and I were going over our financial difficulties the other evening. And I believe that we'll need your generous $500 wedding gift before we get married. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. I was hoping I wouldn't put you to sleep here. Certainly hope this will fit in with your plans. Red seems to have fully recovered from her operation and says that she's happier than she's ever been before in her whole life. July 23rd. Our bungalow will be ready for occupancy on August 1st. That's Cleveland Heights. Is that Cleveland Heights? East Cleveland, right. The place is located in a very nice neighborhood, quite close to where Red will be teaching next year. It has a living room with a large picture window in it, a kitchen, a tiled bath, and bedroom. We have a small yard with a large elm tree in it. The whole building is a two-family bungalow. The two bungalow units are separated by a double garage. The landlord lives on the other side of the garages and seems to be a good old Joe. The rental is $90 per month, and we are taking a 30-month lease. The rental is high, but considering the crummy places that are available for around $75, we thought this bungalow was worth the extra money. We also have a basement. Is Dick going to be able to make the wedding? That's John's brother. If he can take the time off, maybe he would rather drive out with me than Carol. Love, John. Okay, that's the end of the letters from John to his parents. And now we have Ruth's letters to her parents. In particular, her mother, Augusta Smallshook, who was like a sister, more of a kindred spirit. They were very, very close to each other. Okay, again, her letters that start, her mentioning of John also starts around the same time, early 1949. Okay, 1949, January 3rd. John took me out for lunch at Howard Johnson's. January 12th. John has asked me to drive to Oberlin with Ann and Wayne Saturday night, where Wayne and John graduated from college to see a game. January 18th. John took me to the hockey game, Cleveland Barons versus Philadelphia Saturday night. We lost. The weather still isn't too bad, rainy today though. I'll be able to get a ride with John to school in the mornings, which will help considerably. February 13th. John took me down to the open house. He gave a short talk about our house, that's the Gene Meyer Co-op, and was really wonderful, real proud of him. February 19th, John sent me a little valentine, which said, I know I'm not your first love, but I'd like to be your last. February 22nd, I slept until 11:30 and John phoned at noon and was so glad that I'd been able to sleep, as he's been worried about the all-night painting sessions I've had. John's last name is Rea, as you'll see on the valentine. March 7th. John asked if I'd go to church with him Easter Sunday. March 10th. Friday night, John, Wayne, Ann, and I went to the flower show at the public auditorium. April 5th. We had an emergency house meeting last night. John said that we called the meeting to throw two of the members out of the house on a morality basis. Everyone looked so sober, I almost couldn't keep from laughing. It was a prelude to a little party for Wayne and Ann's engagement. May 15th. Every day, I am more enthralled with beautiful Ohio. May 29th. My roommate says it's okay to be mean and moody to people that aren't nice, but that John's too nice a person to take it out on. John came in to ask if he could go babysitting and study with me tonight. They were having a lot of their dates babysitting since Ruth was out working out babysitting Saturday nights. September 9th. John's dad is so nice. That's Dora and Ray. I'd met him last fall, but briefly. He's a lot like John, but shorter, balder, and his eyes are more twinkling. His whole family have an exceptionally happy outlook. We went to Lakeside. It was lovely, and we swam, played tennis, played poker, etc. We were in 2 big houses by the lake, and I was with his sister Carol, a beautiful girl. Oh golly, but it was all so nice. It's about the prettiest place I've been, on Lake Erie. Went to Sandusky to John's home for dinner. Everything was very nice. His mother was so nice to me too. It was hard to tell whether I was falling in love with his family or John. He asked if I felt like I'd left home or was coming home. September 28th. John's real nice. October 2nd. John has been so nice, and when I hear a whistle, I know he's coming. After school or after studying. He brought me some brownies yesterday to ease my hunger pangs. October 17th. John drove me to the big A&P supermarket, and I don't know what I'd have done if he hadn't helped me with it all. October 27th. John's coming to drive me home. He really is a jewel, believe me. He gets nicer every day.
It's in writing, John.
November 2nd. I'm getting so used to John calling me Red, when I talk to myself, I catch myself saying, well, Red, you better get cracking and get to work. You've heard this before, but John really is nice. Nice guy. December 10th. John has been very understanding and helpful. December 14th. John has been swell, but has to work, etc., but leaves his phone number in case I need morale building. December 18th. I cooked my first ham yesterday with big pineapple slices on top. John said it was almost like having a baby. Okay, now we're moving into 1950. January 2nd, this is in Toronto. I thought I'd write and let John sleep a little more, but I just called and he sounds as if he were ready to sleep for another few hours. January 15th, I must get another border crossing card. New Year's promise to John. He's really wonderful. February 1st, John says I'm so used to being on the go, I'm lost when I'm not. February 16th, I had classes until 9 o'clock at night, and when I came out, John had driven down for me and had a big heart-shaped Valentine box of chocolates. It's over a foot wide and long with a huge red bow on top. March 8th. Poor John was so tired of going babysitting Saturday nights, and he had a final exam last Friday, so asked if I'd not go babysitting Saturday and we'd go out instead. May 12th. This is after the car accident. After the operation, I saw how sad John looked. He looked sort of green and so sad. May 13th. I know that the reason my spirits have been so good is because John has been so attentive, sympathetic, and encouraging. He's so nice. May 17th. I can't tell you how nice John has been. Nice guy. Nicest guy in the world. June 18th. Well, it's true, as everybody here knows. It's true, isn't it? No doubt about that. June 18th. John really is so nice. Very sensible and really good, and I know you'll like him. He's the kind of person you like more as you go along. I am in love with him, and I'm certain that getting married is the right thing. June 19th, she had more surgery. John was so swell, waited all those hours in spite of the fact that they wouldn't let him come in. July 16th, We have our reservations at Banff Springs Hotel and also Chateau Lake Louise. That's for the honeymoon. $15 a day and a deluxe cabin coming back across the Great Lakes. There's been some inflation since then. John said, the honeymoon is not where you started to economize. John is a remarkable person. He's not just nice, he's remarkable. It was their wedding on August 19th at St. Peter's Anglican Church at 3 o'clock in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. That's Western Canada in the Great Plains. And 3 o'clock in Regina would be 5 o'clock here. It's 2 hours. So we've got about 3 more hours till their actual wedding time. September 11th. John's a wonderful person, so helpful. This is after they're married. They've just been married a short time. November 10th. John certainly is a wonderful person. Being married has been so much nicer than I ever imagined it could be. December 10th. It's funny, she's talking to her mother here, after you always saying I was a career girl and not domestic, how much I like being home and cooking. I realize how unusually lucky I am, though, for John is an unusually helpful and understanding person. Really sweet, but firm when I try to get away with too much. I never knew that being married could be so nice. So now we're moving into 1951, January 2nd. John certainly is congenial, never complains, always happy and so helpful. January 5th. It's been so nice living with John's even temper and really sweet disposition. He's so calm and sincere that the world would be a better place if more people were like him. Oh, there's plenty more. April 2nd. You couldn't think of anything John isn't nice about. He even tries to understand me. May 25th. Hey, did I ever marry a wonderful man? He's not only sweet and kind and good, but he's going to graduate cum laude with honors. That's from law school. July 30th. John is so nice and encouraging about everything I try to do that it's all so much fun. He thinks we should accomplish something every day, and we usually do. August 15th. I love staying home and cooking. I've had so much fun trying new things. John's favorites are banana cake and potato salad. October 19th. Today is our 14-month anniversary. Every day's better. November 20th. I never told you about our big party. John, the sweetheart, said it was the best food he'd ever eaten at a party. We had Ann, Wayne, Jer, Bruce, Vince, Mary and Susie, Alex and Vera, and Joan and Lenny. Lots of fun, and to make it really perfect, John cleaned up the whole house the next day. Dishes, rug, everything, while I went to a teacher's tea. Longer in many ways, nice ways. January 27th. John has been very good for my moods. Now this is a letter that John wrote to Ruth's parents, George and Gus Smallshaw. Red fixed some mushroom roll-ups which went over in a big way. By the way, have I told you that Red is really a fine cook? She spends $10 per week for groceries, and we eat like kings. April 16th. We're very happy that we hope to have a baby in November. I told John the baby was about the size of an apricot. I went to bed early in Sandusky and awoke to hear John telling the whole family all about the pregnancy and how our baby was the size of a very ripe peach. I just about fell out of bed laughing and had asked, how come the peach size? He said, well, I figure it's grown since you told me. May 1st. You just can't know how wonderful John is. I'm certainly lucky. He's more considerate than I ever thought anyone could be. He's certainly a honey. June 16th. John and I went to 2 movies last week, With a Song in My Heart and Singing in the Rain, both good. John also bought me a hot fudge sundae, our favorite date before we were married. Still a favorite. August 27th. John gave me a 3-year subscription to the American Home Magazine. I just devour that type of magazine now. I only hope, now this is a letter to Bud, Ruth's brother. I only hope that when you're married, you'll be as happy as I've been. John deserves the credit, as far as we're concerned, for being so considerate, unselfish, kind, never losing his temper, all the things that make for happiness, and which I never knew men were capable of. It's certainly wonderful for a wife to get a husband that doesn't mind helping out. September 9th. I feel very fortunate that John is such a good husband. October 6th. They're having a drapery lecture downtown tomorrow, so I think I'll go and see if I can get any ideas. First, their first child was born November 9th, Mark, Dora, and Ray, sitting over here. Yes. Okay, now 4 days after Ruth gave birth, November 13th, she wrote to her mother, Sunday was the most tremendously thrilling day of my entire life. Mark, Dora, and Ray is the most wonderful baby, and so very much like his daddy that it is amazing. During the labor, it was just wonderful having my calm, strong husband sitting by me. After giving birth, I prayed for a baby like John. After she gave birth, she said, I prayed for a baby like John, and I just pray now that we'll be able to bring him up to be as nice as his daddy. He is. He is. December 30th. John is so nice, I hate to see him go to work in the morning, and so glad when he comes home. Now, we skip forward to 1953. February 9th. Life sure changes when you become a mama. February 16th. Thoughtful John got me a lovely box of Whitman's. Really sweet of him when we're so broke. March 18th. John's fine, sweet as ever. November 6th. John is probably the only man alive I could live with peaceable. He's so diplomatic. December 10th. John has been wonderful caring for Mark, getting up at 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. for his medicine, and Saturday he's taking off work to look after Mark while I go shopping. In 1954, on June 19th, their second child, Pamela, was born. And we skip to 1955, August 1st. Friday night, John is taking me to dinner at the White Oaks, a lush place for dinner and a show. 5 years marriage. March 7th. The other day, Mark was yelling out the door, Hey God, looking up in the sky. Hey God, thank you. Thank you for everything. Okay, that's the end of the letters. Now we have one more part here, just to complete this story. In 1960, John was voted the most outstanding young man of Cleveland by the Junior Chamber of Commerce. His civic contributions were the stuff of legend. He had been president of numerous organizations in the area, including the Big Brothers, the Lake Erie Junior Nature and Science Center. He raised the money to build that. The local chapter of the United World Federalists, the Cleveland Regional Council of Episcopal Churches, and the Cleveland JCs. John often explained, public service is the price we pay for the air we breathe. During the 1970s, Ruth's watercolor artwork received national and international recognition. Her inspiration was her English-Canadian mother, Augusta Smallshaw, who produced award-winning China art. Ruth's art was featured on numerous Christmas cards, and it still is, in the Cleveland area, as well as the national Easter seals. Her Bahama shell prints were and still are highly valued by collectors, and her annual art show at the Barton Center in Lakewood was a highlight of the artistic season. In 1976, the Peter Beebe Episcopal Church court case made national news. John was Peter Beebe's lawyer in the case, and he beat the odds and succeeded in opening the door for women to become Episcopal ministers. Ruth was just as involved as John in the drama. John often remarked, "Always keep pushing. You never can tell when you're just a quarter of an inch from the other side of the wall." John and Ruth had lost their 16-year-old daughter Pamela, who died in 1971. John said, "With Pam's death, we became aware of how short life is. We decided that if there was anything worth doing for others, the time to do it is now." John and Ruth are a very special couple. They have been wonderful parents. Their lives of service to humanity have been and continue to be inspirational. Congratulations, Mom and Dad. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to turn this over to Mark Rea, my big brother. Yes. Oh, one final thing. On the tables, the giveaways that have John and Ruth Rea's 50th wedding anniversary. If you see those were made by my wife in the Philippines, and she couldn't come to this. My wife Alice and our son Tim couldn't come because she's working, running our school, and Tim's in school. But she sent those to be a part of this celebration. I'd like to turn this over to Mark Rea, my brother.
Thanks, Peter. It was a great testimonial, wasn't it? You may not realize, but this is sort of a continuation of a tradition that we've had over the last several years. Peter's the family historian and archivist, and whenever we get together, he'd bring out these letters and read them out loud for hours, and we never seem to get tired of them, and I hope you enjoyed it. Just to give you an idea how much planning went into this day, if you look over to the Great Lakes, on the wall here, this mural, see how it's all in gold? And of course, there's a lot of planning to have this for their golden anniversary. Also, for planning, just imagine 1950 planning to have your golden anniversary in the year 2000 millennium. How about that? Peter, I think, has covered most of the details of this courtship and the wonderful marriage. I'd just like to pick out two little short stories that happened. One is back in the Bahamas. We went to this island for a number of years, as you may know, and my mother decided one day we were going to go tromping around the bush. And we did, and we followed her along, and it was very difficult climbing. I have to tell you, we were getting scratched up, and it was hot and kind of miserable. And she said, "No, keep going, let's keep going." And we finally got to the top of this ridge, and we found this old foundation of a house. And it was kind of this remarkable discovery. And it turned out this was the owner of the house 200 years ago, had built this place. And no one knew this that was on the island. It wasn't until we researched it later on. And of course, my dad decided, well, let's go ahead. My mother said, let's buy this property, and we did. We now have a house down there. So it just gives you an idea of that pioneering spirit. The other story has to do with the Bahamas, too, and this is one, you maybe have all heard the famous snake story. This is an idea of my dad's character, because a snake got in the house, dropped down on the bed, bit my dad on the nose, and he grabbed this thing, forced the jaws open, and stood there. My mother yelled out and said, Mark, your dad, there's a snake, and he's got your dad. And I turn on the flashlight, and my dad is standing there. Just imagine this. There's blood all over the place, and he's got all this huge 6-foot snake, and it's coiled all around him. And he looks right at me and he said, "Mark, it's okay, everything's under control." Get the hatchet. And we did. It's a true story. So I'd just like to kind of wrap this up and have us all have a toast to my parents. So if you have your champagne glass, let's raise it up. And have a toast to these two wonderful, nice people and all that they represent. Hear, hear. Thank you all for coming, and you're all wonderful, nice people too, because you're friends of theirs.
I'd like to have one more toast to my sweet wife, whom I still love dearly, and to our 50 years together. Is Mr. Banks cooperative? Boy, you're not kidding. I've heard more than enough.
Sound like a pro. We should have an anniversary tape. Neil looked at it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking it. Good, thanks. I don't know where to look. Yeah, it makes nice job.
Good. Good. Correct.
He's happy to be out of the law. Although I think at times
That is so good at it.
Is it actually? Is there a children's hospital in Akron? Oh, you probably wouldn't know necessarily. I think you said should. That's right. You're not your daughter, but
There's a golf course here, Paul.
Oh, that's what I meant. When did you graduate?
If I don't do that, then I keep getting cut off. The rest of them.
You're going to serve the champagne. You have to open it and serve. Oh, that's gorgeous. That's nice. Beautiful.
They're both singing.
I should put my shoes back on.
I'll get the keys. Think beautiful thoughts.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Whatever. What else? This doggone tree almost fell that week. That, as soon as we had that flagstick built.
Hi, John. How are you? Listen, I understand that the food's not really
They have a party over there too.
Having a party over there. We're just at a party, fashion party.
Hello, partner.
culture blessings, right?
Marathon? No, we don't call it. That might be
What are you playing? Helping the musicians. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Sit back and watch things happen. Move the switch.
My sister. This guy, you gotta see him handle the deck of cards.
You did all the shuffling?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it. All I say is when he goes out to play with this group.
I think he's the CPA that keeps track of his pots and everything.
Pardon me?
He's the CPA that keeps track of the pots.
That's the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Particularly with the way these guys.
Let's say you lose it.
Right.
So they shouldn't sue for money, they should sue for specific performance or non-performance, I should say.
They should
say,
sue.
stop me.
Right. First of all, they should eliminate.
No guns but knives.
Okay.
Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.